you said you had stage fright, but then you still put up your hand and you answered those questions and you still showed up and you still did the thing. So it was always like you didn't think, you just put in the action. You just did and you practiced and you achieved. So you never really bothered about perfection, neither did you bother about fear. That is
No,
beautiful.
look, it's easy for me to go back and reflect on that, but how I've always felt that why we are doing it. If the reason is strong, any other fear is nothing against that. What you want to do. If that is stronger than your fear, then fear doesn't count. But having said that, it doesn't mean the fear is not there. The stage
Yeah.
fright has always been there, but it's like, okay, what really matters? It's the message rather than me or my language or my accent. It doesn't matter at all. If I can influence one person or I can inspire someone out there, that's a stronger reason for me to be out there. And one can really train themselves. Like, it comes down to the mindset. If you know that you can do it, then it's a progression over perfection. If you get better one bit at a bit and you keep doing it, you'll get a lot more better eventually.
Hello, everyone. Today, I'm honored to welcome Rasti Vaibhav, a strategist who's crafted not just wealth, but a legacy rooted in vision, discipline, and the courage to reinvent. From unexpectedly becoming a pillar of his family at 17 to building an extraordinary multi property portfolio and penning the property wealth blueprint. Rossi's path isn't defined by luck, it's defined by intent. His work goes beyond property investment. It is about empowering people to transform their innovations into lasting financial freedom. In this space, we'll uncover not just the how, but the heart behind the roadmap. Welcome, Rasti. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Now, thank you, Arjun. It's an honor to be here.
It's an honor for me and for all our listeners that you are here to share your inspiring story with all of us. So before we get into your achievements and where you are today, I'd love to go back a bit. What was life like before you were stepping into this path of property wealth and entrepreneurship?
Sure. So just even before that, if it's okay for me to share, Arjun, like, I'm coming from a very, very average, humble, middle class family where my parents struggled to put food on the table. So I've seen my mother working very hard, and my father unexpectedly passed away when I was only 17.
Oh, I'm
And
so
there was
sorry.
a urge for me to learn and grow. But as an average Indian, as you can appreciate, the only way out is the education when there's no backing from anyone else, right? So I want to be an architect. I became architect, but only to realize that the money in that profession was not immediate that I really needed for my family support. So for that reason, I had to learn IT programming on my own. So I went, studied architecture in the day, and then in the evening I was um, you know, burning the midnight oil, as we say, to learn about computers and the programming. And I learned it without the computer in my hand. So it was more theoretical and trying to write some code without really getting it tested. So that is how I started getting into the computers. But because I learned so much from the books, my theory part was all right compared to other uh, people who were trying to learn computers. So that really got me into computers. That really, again, with the urge to learn more, I went to Singapore so that I can do a full-time work in IT and then do part-time studies. So the essence that I'm trying to share with you is it was really about learning how I can become the best in terms of what I'm learning. And the only way to do it is to learn from the best. So surround yourself with the right people. In my case, I actually went to the right university. So NUS in Singapore, one of the best rated university when it comes to IT in the Asian setup, because I didn't want to be too far from my mother. So that really got me to Singapore. And in Singapore, when the course was over, I got married and we realized that, okay, Australia might be the best place for us to move to. So just for the best work-life balance, it's beautiful out here. And I'm just amazed. And I'm glad to be this part of the world. Again, the message is that I was never satisfied with what the status quo is. Like, if we have to look for if we are looking for something, always look forward and then really make a call that, okay, is this something I really want to do for the next 30, 40 years, or even just for next 5 years as an example. So lots of people get stuck back in their mindset that, okay, this is what I've achieved. So for example, architecture, I was doing all right, but it was just not in alignment to what I was looking for. So there was a big, I guess, friction. And that's why I was ready to pivot from there. Same thing when I moved to Singapore, I was all good, but I was looking for better lifestyle. So I moved to Australia. Now, again, this thing happened again, Arjun, that I came to Australia. I was pretty all right, but then it was so expensive to live in. And, we were just trying to get the ends meet. And we realized, okay, this is not going to work. So again, I was back to side hustles and trying to do things like currency trading, share trading, and the likes. And I realized that this could be my profession because I actually had a knack for numbers and I was making my money work harder. And I thought maybe I should again think about the future and should I really pivot one more time? And with the grace of God and my wife's support, we said, okay, let's do that. And I let go of my IT job
Hmm.
and then went for my full-time MBA. And I did it here in UNSW, then also went to the Booth Business School in the US to learn the best from the best in the world about like the theory about the finance and investing and whatnot. To back it up, I actually did one more certification, which is CFA, which is one of the hardest certifications when it comes to investment journey.
Right.
And that landed me in the jobs of investment equities analyst. So far, everything was all going great. But unfortunately, it was not working for me and my family. In the sense, I was still living paycheck to paycheck. I was really literally counting my bank balance at the end of the month. Not much left because we pay a huge amount of tax. Yes, I was doing decent job. So was my partner. But then at the end of the day, when you pay a huge amount of tax, you pay a huge amount of money in the rent, and living expenses are very high, you're not left with anything. Again, it really came back to the thinking that, okay, what's really going on? Yes, I've got the best career now, changes. I'm in the best part of the world. I'm doing best. But is it the best for me financially? Because it was building up as a stress. Like, what was the end? Like people work. Yes, people buy their home, they pay mortgage. And then even in another 15, 20 years, they pay off the mortgage. What's next? They still have to work for another 15, 20 years
Hmm.
to save for the retirement, for the golden nest egg. And I
Right.
was like, this is really getting too much stressful because there's no guarantee of anything. How do we project something for that long? There has to be a better way. And again, with the search of finding the right solution for that, I realized that it's really comes from the mindset that what are you looking for, where you are today, where you really want to be. So having
Hmm.
that clarity of the vision that where you want to be is the first thing, and the belief that you really want to get there as well. Because lots of people start with a vision that, okay, just a conversation. Yes, I want to be there. But the second thing is the belief. Do you really want to be there? And at what cost do you want to get there? So it's really about understanding the amount of sacrifices you're happy to make will actually make sure the universe will manifest, things will happen because you're telling not just yourself, your subconscious mind, but you're telling the universe that this is what you want. So that clarity or the vision and the belief, believe it or not, that's what actually happened to me. I didn't really even have my job. I was like, okay, what do I want to do? And that vision, that manifestation, or just the gratitude in the morning and just thinking of that vision every day really got me in the circles that how I can get there. So it's really about the mindset, Arjun.
Wow. Can you tell me what were the points, those defining moments that led to that switch in mindset that got you thinking in that way and to take up those practices?
No, great. So I've read this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, by Robert Kiyosaki, and it's one of the fantastic books. It actually talks about it's not. I mean, this is what I actually interpret from there as well. Of course, it's a story of a kid having one rich uncle and one poor dad, and he learned from his friend's dad who was rich. He was saying, okay, you can choose to do whatever you want, and then you need to work towards it. So to me, environment was the same, but it's really how you internalize it is what actually got that from that book. But it's not really, not so much so that book itself, but how I could able to relate to my own childhood. Like my dad was very hardworking and he worked very hard. But on the other hand, my uncle, as in my dad's younger brother, he worked very hard to get into the medical school. and he worked, he worked to become a doctor, and then as a doctor, he went to a few different countries to work over there, and then I could see that both brothers were working very hard, but the return on the money and the return on time, what my uncle was getting as a doctor was entirely different. And I realized that yes, it's really about the empowerment that you can get early on. So yes, it's a childhood thing that actually, I mean, as a child, I didn't know anything. But when I picked that book, I could relate to my own backstory, that how my father and my uncle, they were different, not so much different though, but they had a different lifestyle eventually. So to me, that was one of the big realization, that book itself, which made me relate to my own upbringing.
Wow, that is amazing. So when you were at that point in time, when you were going through all those struggles and challenges, because as I understand that there were points in your life where you were just paycheck to paycheck, am I right? So when you were going through those times in your life, what was your internal environment like? Those challenging times, like were there doubt, fear? What kind of beliefs were there, and how did you overcome it, or how did you deal with them?
Now, great question, Arjun. So the biggest thing is that it's a part of the environment that we are in. When you see your neighbor, when you see your colleague doing the same thing, it becomes a norm. So it's not too bad when we think about it, because everyone is going through that. We are still, we are still in the same environment, or so it's not too much of an issue from that point of view. But the thing is, when you see where you want to be, and then when you start seeing the gap, that okay, this is where I really want to be. For example, I want to pursue my hobbies like painting, sculpture, if I have liberty of time, or some traveling different countries, or just spending time with the loved ones. So that is what I really want to do if I have no worries. But the thing is that I need to go to work, I need to establish myself, and of course, the goals of
Mhm.
just daily living. So it really comes down to internally, like when we become part of that, there's no worry. It's like as an ostrich, you put your head down and worries all goes away. But when you start realizing that, okay, what could be the world out there, what is out there, what do you really want to get to, that becomes more of a conflict internally. That, okay, rather than buying my own home, I really want whatever I'm saving, I really want it to work harder for me. Becomes the
Mhm.
realization that I can't really just work for myself, the money has to work for me. So just that paycheck to paycheck, the stress around it, looking at it and knowing that, okay, I can't really go for vacation for another 2 years because I would not have money by that time, was really painful, because now you're seeing the opportunity cost, that you can't do this, you can't do that, the liberty, because money is not everything, but it buys you the choices that this is what you want to do. So the feeling that you're stuck, that it's a rat race, it's a 9 to 5 grind, you can't get out of it. It only starts when you want to get out of it. So if you become part of the cohort, no
Mhm.
issues, right? I mean, you're part of the herd, you follow the herd, you are the herd, or you are part of the herd. But you want to stand out, you need to think about what others who have been on that position, what they are doing, or what they are recommending. So again, it's a mindset around looking beyond, like coming, rising up the crowd and looking around who's doing what. And that comes from the awareness, Arjun. So reading books, getting to the right people. Because if I reach and if I meet someone who has done very, very well, it becomes inspiration. It's not jealousy, it's inspiration. Like, how can I get there? What they have done? Is it something that I would like to, you know, swap my place with, as an example? Not everything is very, what shines is not gold all the time. So you need to be very careful what we are wishing for as well.
So I can really see over there that the way you thought was so different, because generally people might get jealous or say, "Oh, that guy just got lucky," or "He had contacts," or whatever the reasons they might make. But you didn't think that way. You said, "No, I want to learn from them, and I want to get there." And it seems like that when you were in a problem, you were just concerned about how can I resolve this, and you were trying to just get your hands on all the resources possible that could help you to overcome that problem. Is that right?
No, exactly right, exactly right. And it really is everything has, good or bad. It really comes down to your perspective. Like, are we seeing, like, if I'm in trouble, it's a challenge that I'm in, for example, or it's a very challenging thing, I might go back and play the victim card, that why God did this to me. And on the other side, one can choose to make this as a strength. Like, for lots of people, I have heard that losing dad at the age of 17 could be a, it's a life event. The way I took it was, okay, no, I made a promise to my mom that she would be all right and the family will be okay, and that's the promise that I actually carried as a as my strength, that I need to do things. And just the virtue of moving countries or moving careers a couple of times, it was a promise and the intent behind it that really got me where I am today. And can I get higher heights? Of course I can. But then again, you have to really weigh down what is the cost, because you don't want to get to some place at every cost, right? So you have to be very selective in what you're wishing for, what you want to do it. But then again, be open minded that is it really the right thing? Because in the childhood, for example, I want to go in the Navy, and then lots of people, as an example, like they get stuck with that idea that, okay, I want to do this and nothing more because I've never thought anything beyond it. There's a difference between infatuation and the real love behind it. And sometimes you have to just let go things as well. So being open-minded around it. And of course, you have to be true to yourself every time. There's no doubt about it. So that's your core values. So understanding what your core values are and understanding what you're made up of, like who are you as a person, and always being sticking to that, and then really looking out, okay, what should be done. So yes, we'll come across lots of people, and one opportunity can knock, the door can actually open a new opportunities as well. So being open, never being afraid of trying few things, getting exposed to different people, different cultures is amazing. That's a very, really inspiring. And this is the reason I want to travel the world.
Wow, that's beautiful. And so, can you tell me about like any one particular belief or a certain pattern of beliefs that you had that you needed to completely let go of in order to be where you are today? Anything that you really had to wrestle with?
Now, great question. I think it's really, it's just a hard one, because I kind of, because I got in the guidance of my dad and my uncle, and I could see my uncle was always saying, okay, this, if you put a thought to it, if you want to focus on it, and you spend, I think there's a survey as well, like if you spend 10,000 hours, you get better at it and you become expert at it. So it really comes down to what you're like focusing on. So I come with a belief that, okay, if I want to do something, I can do it. But I always thought that I need to be guided. So probably one of the belief I would say is that, yes, if I put my mind to it, I need to be guided, then I will be able to do it. There's no doubt about it. Whatever it is, focus and the guidance can get me there. Now, it hasn't changed at all. What I would say is that my importance or reference point to the guidance has actually got diluted now. I don't think
Hmm.
that's really a factor. Like if you are passionate about doing things and you're very much motivated to get there, and this is at stake of what you are looking for, that passion or the belief itself will get you guided by meeting with more people. And so there's no such thing called like there's a mentor and who will guide you with everything. So in the journey, we can get across to different people, and we can choose to pick the right element from different personalities, different mentors in our own journey, and really absorbing it and taking from there, rather than the belief that I had that if there's someone who can guide me everything, tell me what I need to do, how I need to do. The challenge is there's no such person and nobody can do it, because everyone is individual. We are made up differently in our thought process, our belief system, our mindset.
Yeah.
So nobody can superimpose their take on me or anyone. So it's really getting influenced, and we can choose to get influenced with many personalities around, dead or alive, because internet, YouTube, even ChatGPT now, there's so much research out there. The limitation is only of the time. So it's really coming from the prioritization now, compared to that thought that I need to have that person who will guide me through. So that was probably the belief that I was told, that tell me something. If it is possible, I'll do it. Just tell me how. But I don't need any more like that. I know where I am today, where I want to get there. I have the means to find out what to do, how to do, and then doing it along the way.
I just love that mindset. That is such a different way of thinking because generally you see people saying that get a mentor, but the way you put it and the way you see it is really powerful. That is amazing. So, throughout your journey, the definition of success you had before compared to what success means to you today, how has that changed? Like what it was before and what it is for you now?
Yeah, I think it comes down to the maturity level on the way. Earlier, it was like when I was in college, I was like, okay, can I get a job? Or, was when I was trying to change my career from IT to finance, to me, the success then was that can I land into a finance industry job? Because it was GFC. And, so that was a challenge because not many people were able to do it. But to me, I think you have to generalize it as the success is something that gives you freedom, that gives you an opportunity to express yourself, like what you're looking for. Sometimes success is not really a big deal. Like, I mean, it's not a huge thing like lots of people think of it, because we tend to overestimate what we do in the short term and we underestimate what we can do in the long term. And I think success now to me as a person is how much is the discipline to get to do whatever I want. Like, it's the discipline that I'm setting up for myself, not so much about the motivation. Because lots of people say, okay, am I getting motivated? Like, do I need to know what I need to do? But the thing is, motivation for something like making big or getting on a career, becoming a good doctor, as an example, they're the big long goals, but it doesn't tell us what should I do today.
Yeah.
So I think it really comes down to the discipline that, of course, you set it up that, okay, where you want to go, what you want to do, but it comes down to your atomic habits. Like, what are you doing today? What's your ritual? How would you take it if the world moves around you? And that defining your core you and staying true to that all the time, to me, is more of a success now. Like, if I've chosen, to say that, okay, I want to do this with my daughters. This is like, I'm dad of two daughters. Like, what time I need to spend with them, and if I can spend that time as a planned thing, because it's not really about the time I'm spending, it's the quality with them. If I want to do something, how am I preparing for get to there? Again, can I break it down into small little steps? If I agree on a routine, I'm actually following it. So even as simple as calling my friend on a weekend, if I've made a plan that I should be doing this knowingly, not accidentally, but knowingly, this is what I want to do, the conversation I would have, the quality of the conversation I would have will be suddenly a lot more better. And the fact that I'm able to call them, to me, that's success. So it's not what we really think that there's a success as a, binary thing, yes or no, failure, or, it's a degree as well. Like, if I'm able to call, say, I mean, in this example, if I have to call 5 friends, I'm calling 4 friends, it's still success for me to a good extent.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not what we make huge, I guess, thing about the success. It's really about living and winning day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute. So being true to yourself on a small routine basis is, to me, is success now.
Amazing. And speaking of, you just mentioned you have two beautiful daughters. And before starting the recording, you were just discussing how one of your daughters have actually launched her own podcast, and she's written her own book. And so on those lines, would you like to share with our audience, our young parents, our parents who have young children, about some tips about upbringing them and that entrepreneur mindset, that success mindset? Any tips you can give for our listeners who are parents?
Now, great question. Look, I think it really is about show, not tell, kind of a thing, like what we learn and how to write a good story. Kids are in this world. I mean, at this time, they're very smart. They know how to use technology. They can be on the phone, internet, whatever. I'm probably like my daughters tell me like how to use this, dad, like on Spotify or whatnot, or YouTube. So they're very smart people. What, as a parent, I think it really comes down to just showing them, not telling them, because they are not good listeners. I can tell. I mean, from my experience of my parenting, it's really about, if you want to share with them that, okay, they should have a reading habit. The only way you can do it is becoming a reader yourself. If you read the book as a routine, you talk about what you have read in the book and give them the couple of books. You don't need to tell them that you need to read this book by this and that, but they see you reading and you talk about the books, they will actually follow that. And it really is a habit around it, rather than dictating the terms that this is how you should be doing it. So same thing happened with my daughters. They saw me, I never, I mean, you talked about the previous point that I have actually planned to be a business person. No, I didn't want to be a business person at all, like in my career, because I actually went to the right career, enjoyed it, but it was more from the viewpoint that I want to help other people. And that became my passion. And I learned on the go. And it was a COVID business, 6 years when I started, COVID happened, the lockdown started. We didn't really had any ways to get out of it and start the business in that same time. But it was a core passion that I really want to make it happen. And the journey they saw me doing it, like one thing at a time, focusing on the long-term goals, having the clarity of the on the whiteboard that, okay, this is where I am, this is where I want to be, what is the gap analysis. Of course, just doing this process very much openly in front of them, they learned those things without being told. And 2 years ago, they started their own business. They have their own business as well together as a sisters of gift hampers that they can choose to create all the gift boxes and they can send on the special occasion. So while I learned it hard way and I did it, 3 degrees and realized that this is my passion, this one, then I started the business. They started when they were only 12 and 16. One is that it's really about showing, not telling, and becoming friends to them and talk to them. It's probably have to give a tip. I'm not really authority space in this, but this is my experience of parenting my two girls.
Wow, that's beautiful. So it's basically being a role model more than anything. That's
A role
beautiful.
model plus friend, I would also say. I mean, sometimes if you become too role model, the gap becomes too high that if they want to aspire, because kids, they don't really think too much from that point of view. I mean, we are the world for them to start from the day one. But as they open up, they learn the core values and they go out and become a part of their own identity and they make their own as well eventually.
Beautiful.
But yeah,
And
role
also,
model and friend.
beautiful. And also wishing them much luck. And so you also
Thank you.
mentioned about helping people. And now what I also noticed from your posts on LinkedIn that how you are bringing out about this learning and education so that people can really change their lives. Can you just shed some more light upon what's your goal with where are you going, with the thought of helping people?
Great question. So I go back to my stories. If so, I studied as an architect. I did data science, master's degree, 10 years experience. Then I went to the funds management space where I learned about the risk. I learned about the strategy. And then where I stopped over there was in the previous conversation was that I got to the best job, but then I was still living paycheck to paycheck. And then I was trying to work it out, like what's my end goal looks like, and what do I really want to do, and how can I get there? Because the passion was there, where like the clarity of what I want to do or what I want to achieve, and then how I want to get there was more of us again more of a research process. And then I realized that I got three ingredients: architect, data science, and funds management. I should be able to use in my property investing world, because property investing can really get me to where I want to go, get there sooner. Again, I didn't really just started like that. I actually went for a journey of exploring how successful property investing is being done. So just not realizing that, okay, so the thing is that I realized that I need to invest money, that money can work harder. But the problem is, average Australian gets stuck at after one or two properties. So they can only buy one or two. Statistically speaking, they can't really go beyond. But there's a very small percentage of successful property investors who go beyond 5, 6, 7 properties.
Mhm.
And for me, it's like, okay, if I really want to get what I want to do, I need to be in that small category who's able to do it successfully. So I emulated them, like what they have been doing, what they are reading, how they're exposing themselves, how they are really making those decisions and getting surrounded by them. So that's what I did for next 14 to 18 months, just to learn from them. Of course, I was just a newcomer in the industry and I was still learning as an investor. So I was doing all sort of coaching programs. I was doing, the getting on the YouTube, reading all the books, going to the networking events, the coaching programs. And that's how I got really not just the learning, but the confidence to do things. And from then I started buying property. It worked. It worked. So I repeated and rinsed again. And then I did again. Then I did it again. And then I was able to, like, fast forward 7 years, I was able to build a portfolio of 15 properties. So to me,
Wow.
it was all for myself. I was doing all right. But, there was a lot of rigor around it, like lots of working. And that's how kids also learn. Because when I was traveling to look at the properties,
Mhm.
with it was outing on the weekend. So the kids were also behind the car and we were talking about what we are doing. So they learn in the process as well. And, fast forward a few years, I was like, okay, now this is working for me. And then I started helping my friends and family as well. Okay, what they should be doing, how they should be thinking about it. because I was
Mm.
able to connect the dots of being an architect as a data scientist and a fund manager. So all of this thing, and I realized this is a great thing, and this could be a thing that should be open to share with other people. And that was an aha moment for me, Arjun, on just on that. Because I was continuing to educate myself. I went to this program by Tony Robbins, Unleash Your Power Within. It's a beautiful event. So it was a 4-day program that I attended in person. And the third day, he actually posed a question, and it sounded that he was talking to me, though he was talking to 12,000 other people in the auditorium. And the question was that everyone does for themselves. What are you doing for others? And that really shook me. I said, what I've done is for me, for my family, what I've learned in the property education or property investing. This is something I should be doing with others or sharing with others. And that was the weekend that I came out with. And I resigned the following week to start a business, not for the sake of making money out of it, but for the sake of educating people, sharing with them that this is possible. And what it all started with the vision, started with the belief. And if you have the belief, get the team around it, treat that as their business, and they can do it. So that was the foundation of why we started it. And this is 6 years running. We are still very much, or only probably got better and stronger with that belief now that it can work for anyone if they put the right ingredient, the mindset, and the vision around it. And that's what we have been doing. Never thought of, you know, I was very much in the very technical roles. I never spoke on the stage, and I actually had a stage fright. But now, during this journey, I learned for me to do what I'm doing now, I need to be out there, put my hand up to really share my story, share how this property investing can be done properly, that anyone can be on the other side by not just working hard, but working smarter, because the money, what they are earning, can work a lot more harder for them. So, so this is what it is. Like, we are getting stronger and stronger. We have helped lots of people. The whole idea is to inspire people that property investing can do wonders.
Beautiful. And what I also got from it was you always, like you said, you had stage fright, but then you still put up your hand and you answered those questions and you still showed up and you still did the thing. So it was always like you didn't think, you just put in the action. You just did and you practiced and you achieved. So you never really bothered about perfection, neither did you bother about fear. That is
No,
beautiful.
look, it's easy for me to go back and reflect on that, but I've always felt that why we are doing it. If the reason is strong, any other fear is nothing against that. What you want to do. If that is stronger than your fear, then fear doesn't count. But having said that, it doesn't mean the fear is not there. The
Yeah.
stage fright has always been there, but it's like, okay, what really matters? It's the message rather than me or my language or my accent. It doesn't matter at all. If I can influence one person or I can inspire someone out there, that's a stronger reason for me to be out there. And one can really train themselves. Like, it comes down to the mindset. If you know that you can do it, then it's a progression over perfection. If you get better one bit at a bit and you keep doing it, you'll get a lot more better eventually.
Love that mindset. And of course, as they say, energy flows where attention goes. So that absolutely makes sense. You put in more energy to the intent rather than the fear. Beautiful. Love
Exactly.
that. And so with that, I also would you like to share like some of the daily rituals or routines that you have in place that help you stay sharp and continue on this journey that you are on?
Now, great question. So, I think the first thing is really, in a general, setting the goals, like what you want to achieve. And typically, we have a tendency to overestimate what we can do in the long term, even the short term as well. But the thing is, if you can pencil it down, everything. So, penciling down, just understanding, because it's not because we want to do everything, right? I mean, everyone wants to do everything. Really comes down to the prioritization. And when we focus on one thing at a time, when the intent is there, that things can get done. As a business owner, there are so many things that we need to go through, right? But if I start thinking about everything, nothing will get done and I'll be only stressed up. But in reality, if I can, in the morning, I get up, for example, I spend about 10, 15 minutes for the day that, okay, what are my priorities today? And then really just being focused on those things, because every other thing becomes noise at that point of time. So having that clarity, what that day encompasses for you, or the week, or the month, or the quarter. Of course, we need to be guided by our 5 years planning, but it really should come down to, okay, what should I do in next 90 days? What is my priority? And to get it done, what I need to do, focus on this week, and then dividing the week in such a way that everything gets attended to. But then what's my to go thing, or what am I focusing on right now at this hour becomes a question. So to that, use calendar so much that calendar defines you. Like, it doesn't really leaves me to my wish, what I want to do. I get dictated by my own calendar. So in a way, I was talking about in the beginning that there has to be, like, I used to think that there will be someone who will tell me. That person is nobody but myself. So in a planning stage, I can tell myself what I should be doing, become more of a vision, like I have to plan things on that particular moment. And then I become the follower of those things. But then that doesn't stop there. Then you have to go and reflect that, because we make progress, we get better when we reflect back on what has worked, what has not worked. So if I've underestimated the time it might take for me to do a task A, next time I know, oh, I actually made a miscalculation. It was it was not 1.5 hours. It actually took me 2.5 hours. So I know that when I'm planning again, how it should be done next time. So planning, following, and then reflecting. And that doesn't just apply to the workplace. It's actually with everything, whether it's your relationship or whether it's your, uh, spirituality, anything. Like, just plan, follow, and then reflect.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so, what's one thing people might be surprised to learn that you're really good at outside of property and business?
I have been told that I'm good at painting. So I do portraits now and then. And it only comes when I really want to do, like when I get into the painting side of things, like a sculpt, um, I can I can forget myself for next 4 days, and I'm just doing this. But just that finding those days or that inspiration or sometimes passion is a bit hard. But when it comes there, nothing stops me there. So yeah, painting, I would say.
On that note, I just wanted to know, how do you balance your work life? Like, what's the work life balance? How do you do that? How do you manage that?
No, great. So to me, that's a myth. To me, that's a myth, because to me, what I'm doing now, it's not like a 9 to 5 thing that I go in the office, do the work, come out of it, right? So first of all, when you enjoy what you're doing, it's not work. So to me, it's really, I enjoy. So it's not really work. It's really about, if at all, it's more about, I guess, the balance between the social life and my personal life, my work life from that point of view. But the thing is that the things what I'm doing right now is very much blurred. My work is my life, and and life is my work. So I'm very much passionate. So I don't feel that I'm working now at all. But having that clarity, how should I be spending time? Because as I said, like, the planning stage is there, the action stage is there, and there's a reflection stage is there as well. That reflection, that pausing from the work, reflecting what has worked and what has not worked, sometimes needs a change in the environment. So, for example, like traveling, going for a weekend out or taking a week out altogether, just to go back and see, okay, how my last quarter has gone through. So, to me, it's more about the balance of the things in a way that is balanced for you, because it comes back to the core value. Like, who am I as a dad? Who am I as a husband? Who am I as a neighbor? Who am I as a part of the community? And then understanding what I should be doing. Am I doing it enough or not? And sometimes, like socializing, for example, going for charity events, like, to me, that's a break in a way, but that's still kind of contributing, because time is very short. Like, life is short. It's beautiful. You want to cramp in everything possible. And sometimes it's not really compartmentalization. Sometimes there's an overlap. Like, I'm traveling for a charity event with my family. That's my family time. I'm reflecting back, and I'm doing some event as well. And guess what? I can be a speaker in one of the events as well. So that becomes work, because my work, my passion is to inspire people, like how they should be thinking about their prosperity, their money life of things. Because if they can solve the money issue, they can choose to have that right level of time, energy, and money on themselves, for themselves.
Yeah.
So that's the best part of the freedom, that when you get there, you're not worried about the money, you're not worried about the business, but the core value, what you are trying to achieve. And then it goes with you, because you are as a part of the business. You are the business, you are the core, you are the brand.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And how would you define wealth?
Wealth is a funny word because it can be seen in different perspectives. So wealth probably would be more around the richness, and richness is not just about the money or the money in your bank. It's really about what you can give, and sometimes it's the wealth of wisdom, wealth of spiritualization element of it. It could be wealth of your health. So or even the health of, like, the wealth of good relationships. If I'm stressed up on my family and my marriage, no matter what I do is not really going to work very well. So it has to be the right balance. To me, wealth, just like success, is more about the balance of the right things the way I like it. So if I want a particular lifestyle, anything under that is not acceptable to me. Anything beyond that is also not really acceptable to me, because I want to. I mean, of course, that's a moving chain of thought as well. Like, it's not that it gets rigid that I want this and I only want this. So it's really about the wealth, even of sometimes of the mindset as well. Like, are you open to do things? Like, is there anything holding you back? So, so not so much of wealth, but the richness is like spirituality, your relationship, your money in the bank, as in the wealth from that point of view, as well as your relationships. Sometimes not just relationship with your friends, with your family, with your partner, but relationship with you yourself. Because nobody knows better than you yourself know about you. How do you feel about you being you? So that relationship, if you feel very good about it, world is yours. If there's something which is holding you back, that's a great opportunity for someone to go back and work on it to make it better.
Wow, that's really well put. And our last question is, if you could offer one piece of advice to someone chasing big goals but struggling internally, what would it be?
A great question. My advice would be, because they use the word big goal, let's make it a small, like a combination or the cluster of the small goals to get there. So don't beat yourself up that I need to get there. Rather, understand what that goal looks like, start visualizing what it looks like for you to be there, and let that passion, that power that is driving you to get there, define you, the journey. So break it down into multiple milestones, because sometimes when you have a big goal, like for example, if I have to run a marathon, 42 kilometers, and have no idea how running works. So if that is a goal, make it a very smart goal first of all. So the clarity of the goal is very much important first of all, because sometimes we put in our mindset that, okay, I want to achieve this goal, but have no clarity what it looks like. It's not specific. It's not measurable. It's not actionable. If it's not realistic, it's not timely. I'm actually beating myself up to achieve that goal, because not it has to be very specific. So if I say I want to run marathon, I want to run marathons in, say, New York Marathon in 6 months time. What do I need to do? Now break that into milestone that, okay, if I have to train this, what specifically thing I should be achieving by on a weekly basis. But then to achieve that, I will also say that, okay, do not try to figure it out on your own. Talk to the people, like the help, people who have done marathons, the training schools, because when you're part of that school or that part of running club, it will just make it so easy. So I'll probably say, have a clarity of the goal, make it smart goal, have people around you that supports you, tell that goal up to the world out there, because they would actually guide you that, okay, this is what they've done, this is what they have done. Because sometimes we internalize it so much that we are afraid to tell, because there's a fear of failure. On the contrary, if we tell the world out there, not only they will support, but it becomes non-negotiable, because there's so much at stake that, what my friend would think about whether it's, get there or not. But it all works out when we have belief, when we have the clarity of the goal, break it down to small, simple steps. That what I need to do today: get up in the morning, do this, go for a run. 5 kilometer run is good enough, as an example. That would be my answer to that.
That is amazing. And thank you so much for those beautiful insights and for sharing your story. And one last thing, I also wanted you to share a little about, if you feel called for, to share about your book, The Property Wealth Blueprint. Would you like to say a little about your book?
Sure, with pleasure. So I shared that like I did it successfully, and I want to inspire people in how property investing can work. Because the thing is, there's so much of fear that what if it doesn't work, and the only way to get around that fear is to have the clarity of the goal. Just like what I've been talking about, how one should really treat any goal or anything in life. That's what property wealth blueprint is about. It's actually the GPS of someone who want to get to a particular level of wealth through properties, having that clarity, trying to work it backwards, and treating that as a business. What I've been successful in achieving my own wealth through properties, actually captured it in the book. It's a small read. It's about 200 pages. It's on Audible as well. It's on Amazon. And it really is talking about the philosophy that how one should break down that goal of building wealth through properties, having that clarity, and what they should do today and how they should progress, how they should really set the guideline, because it's not really one thing after the other. It's like really having that checkpoints, because market will change. Eventually, it would change. So how well prepared you are? Because lots of people say there are risks in investing, and I would agree, totally agree, there are risks in investing. But knowing the risk, bring down the effect of those risks. It brings it down a bit, it mellow down. But the important thing is you can embrace those risks as an opportunity, and then embrace them to really make a systematic way of building wealth through property. So that's what the book is about. It's a build with a lot of case studies, how one should be thinking about the mindset, the 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 habits, and the team behind it. One of the messages it says is that it should be treated as a business for you, and the whole philosophy of running a business applies, like having a good business plan, having a good team to make it happen. So
Wow,
yeah, the people wealth blueprint.
that seems to be a very valuable read. And, because I think it just goes beyond the general business book or a book based on property. It covers so much. That is amazing. And I definitely recommend our listeners to take a look. And I'll be placing all the links in the show notes for how to connect with Rusty, and also for his book and all his work that amazing book that he's been doing that has been inspiring all of us. So thank you so much, Rasti, for taking all the time and sharing your story and your beautiful insights. Thank you so much. It was an honor to have you.
Thank you, Arjun. Thank you so much for having me, and good luck to all the work that you're doing. You're doing amazing, man. So really appreciate, and it's an honor to be on your podcast.
Thank you so much. And until next time, see you soon.